That's right. It's Tuesday. That means it's time. Well, you know what it's time for. Time for Scott Cole, Nick Mizesko, and man, we coming off that. We're vibing, by the way.
Dude, I'm
Coming
vibing. This is a. I mean, come on.
We're coming off the NFL draft, and I'm telling you one thing. They did it up. They did it up there in Vegas. And I guess that's the only way to do it in Vegas. But at some point, I'm like, all right, man. Like, I got a headache from like just hearing like just the constant Vegasness of the draft.
Yeah, I was out there. It was it was packed. Obviously, as any NFL draft is.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, big shout out to Vegas for hosting the draft. I think it was their first draft ever. Obviously, they were supposed to host it back in 20 before COVID, and we got the weird Roger Goodell in his basement vibes from that draft. You know, it was a great time.
The draft we never knew we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. It was just one of those that, yeah, I don't know. This was a weird draft because the comments I saw on Twitter, especially, that were just like, dog, can they just come out and announce the picks? Like, There was a lot of over-the-top stuff that was going on. We saw the coach from Blue Mountain State talk for 3.5 minutes and get played off by the producer. It was certainly a little over the top for my taste. I'm sort of more like I'd like to focus on the players and the teams so much as the much more so than the pomp and circumstance. But hey, I mean, it is what I told my friend. My friend's a big Jaguars fan.
It fit Vegas, right?
It fit Vegas. I told my friend who's a big Jaguars fan. He's like, man, this, it sucks being a Jags fan. We don't ever get to the Super Bowl. I go, well, let me tell you this. Even a good football team, you're not getting the Super Bowl every year. But guess what? Bad football team, you get that NFL draft every single year. This is your moment.
And it's really been the Jaguars, right? I mean, and they've had great picks. The problem they've had is people staying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the problem with with the guy down at Jacksonville. And certainly I talk to my buddy MJD all the time, who's probably one of their top 5 players of all time. That certainly stayed there until he became an Oakland Raider kind of late in his career. But it's bothersome, right? I mean, it is, because if you're a Jaguar fan, you just count down the time that you're going to lose Trevor Lawrence, and that probably will happen.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like the Jags, I'm literally looking at their draft history. It's like opposite years they kill it. Trevor Lawrence last year. Ooh, C.J. Henderson, Kayvon Chase on the year before. C.J. Henderson isn't even there anymore. Year before that, Josh Allen. We know how good Josh Allen has been for that defense. The year before that, Taven Bryan. Like, they're just sort of, they can't get any momentum draft-wise. Like, you got to have a couple drafts in a row, because the ones before that, Leonard Fournette and Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, Yannick Ngakoue, Cam Robinson. How many of those guys are still with the Jaguars? I'll wait for your answer. Thank you.
Yeah. Not that many, right? And I think that's the point. So we hit a milestone for the podcast. We went over 2.5 million audio plays. So appreciate everybody out there.
Awesome.
We're trying to get into this video world on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn,
there it
YouTube.
is. That's the one.
Yeah, LinkedIn's the one everybody's watching on, right? That's the big hitter. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through all 32 teams. We're going to break down their draft. We'll be here for about the next 57 minutes or so. We try to do an hour program, 30 minutes to an hour. Last week we went over the mock drafts. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire on that one, because you actually did have some pretty good picks, Nick, and then some of them went later in the draft.
Yeah, man. I will say, I mean, looking across I don't know about you, Scott. You're much more of a draft historian than I am, but looking back, This was probably the most unpredictable draft we've maybe ever seen. Like, this was, and the number of surprises. I mean, let's not forget Mel Kiper, who, for all that's said about Mel Kiper, that's a smart guy. Okay, That's somebody who knows his draft. He said
Mel Kiper's got a high motor. He's very coachable.
Quiet hands, good footwork. This is a guy who was saying, we could be seeing upwards of 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, and we had 1 quarterback taken in the first 3 rounds. Like, it was wild. I don't know. As a fan, though, watching the draft, it was true the first time I've probably watched the draft and been like, I have no idea who this team is taking. I'm excited to see where they go.
We'll talk a little D-Hop and Tyrann Mathieu as we move along, and that's a good segue, because Arizona Cardinals are our first team we're going to break down in the draft. They didn't have a pick until the second round, number 55. They went to tight end from Colorado State. Trey McBride, but they don't have D-Hop for the first 6 games of the season. He got caught with PEDs. Still to this day, the only verified account that has me blocked on
Nice.
Twitter. That was like a decade ago. And I think I
Congratulations.
was defending him, and I'm the one that got blocked. But so we'll keep that scenario going. No love lost between me and D-Hop, I guess.
Yeah.
By the way, if you guys want to get involved, just holler in the chat. We'll feature some of those messages. If you have grades, if you have things you want to throw out for a team, we'd love to hear from you as well as we move along here. Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
And we actually have kind of this is kind of what the experts thought. A- for the Arizona Cardinals. I know they didn't have a lot of top picks, right? 3 picks in the first 3 rounds. They give them an A-. I give them like a C+. Like there's not much here that I'm like, oh man, I love these picks.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go even lower than that. I think I'm in the C range. Listen, the big thing for the Cardinals listen, when you're looking at their grade, it's not so much what they did in the draft, it's the fact that they did trade out of the first round to bring in Hollywood Brown from the Baltimore Ravens, which again, Lamar Jackson didn't know you were going to trade my number 1 wide receiver, but thanks for letting me know, Jim. Sorry, John. So they bring that in.
It's all the same.
You do wonder, did you think this was a move? Did they know that the D-Hop suspension was coming down the pipeline? My guess is probably. Like, they probably knew that this suspension was coming. That's why they're making the move for a big wide receiver. But I look at their draft. Listen, Trey McBride is a nice tight end prospect. I think he's one of the all-time leading receivers at Colorado State. Longtime starter. Obviously, they already have Zach Ertz, but this is a nice fill-in for Zach Ertz. He's obviously not going to be there that much longer. But man, you look at the Cardinals, they needed some help at wide receiver. I know Christian Kirk is the $17 million man in Jacksonville, but he was their number, 2 receiver. Their wide receiving core currently, they bring in Hollywood Brown, D-Hop, but beyond that, it's kind of AJ Green, Rondale Moore. And they didn't address the wide receiver position. They lose Chandler Jones in the offseason. They take a linebacker in the 7th round out of Penn State, Jesse Luketa, who I watch a lot of Big Ten football. He's a nice player. I don't think he's going to make a roster. I think he's a cool player. And they end up going out and taking the running back out of USC, Keontae Ingram. That was a weird pick for me with, James Conner. I don't know. This to me, Scott, wasn't so much I don't know if this was like it was indicative of the talent that they took. It was more just confusing to me. I don't know. I didn't feel like they had a plan going in.
Yeah. I like that they took some offensive guys because Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray together, you think, from looking back at, the Texas Tech days, looking at Kyler Murray and what he did and what he's doing, you would think this offense, certainly with D-Hop and the other personnel that they had over the last couple of years, you think it's a top 10 offense, right? It has to be. Like, there's no way this is not, but they have yet to produce a top 10 offense in the last 3 years. So it was interesting. They gave up, and that's why, I see this, right? Let's flash that graphic back up again. A- for their draft grade. But I have to include the Marquise Brown. I have to include my guy, Hollywood Brown, involved in the draft, right? Because you traded a 23rd and a 100 for it, right?
By the way, the curve in this class, they must need everybody to pass because there's only like 4 C's in that entire draft board. Like, they must have needed everybody to do well. They didn't want to talk bad about anybody.
I will say this comes from NFL.com. So
okay, got it. The NFL doesn't want to talk bad about the NFL. Gotcha.
Take it with a grain of salt. So maybe for what they had post the trade for Hollywood Brown, yeah, great job. Yeah, clap.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to include it because you gave up a ton for Hollywood Brown to come in, and now he's your number 1 target now that D-Hop is out for 6 games.
Yeah. Again, as somebody who gets to watch the Cardinals a lot here in Arizona, I continue to think Cliff Kingsbury stinks as a coach. I think he's a bad coach. He does not know how to coach very good. They get held
single
back.
moms love him.
Yeah, single moms love him, and some single dads. But this was just a weird draft. I don't really. And again, Hollywood Brown bringing in, cool. I will say, when you see the other receivers that have been brought in the last couple of weeks, Hollywood Brown is at the bottom of that list. I don't think we really know what to make of Hollywood Brown because he's playing with a quarterback that's a great pocket running back. He's not a great passer. So we'll see what he does with Kyler Murray, who is at least slightly better a passer than Lamar Jackson. But yeah, this is just a weird draft for the Cardinals. I don't really know what they did.
Didn't love it. I gave him a C minus. I gave him a C plus. You gave him a C minus. And well, our folks at NFL.com gave him a minus. So
Sure.
we're not loving it so far. We'll see how it grades out. We might just be under the board on all these. Let's go in alphabetical order here. We'll go to the Atlanta Falcons, who got rid of Matt Ryan. And you kind of called it. Like they take gambles, right? They like to roll the dice a little bit. And they're going with kind of a player we don't know a lot about. We saw flashes of there at Southern California. Drake London, I thought it was a great pick at number 8.
Yeah, if I had to give this Falcons team a grade, I'd put them firmly in the B to B plus territory. I knocked them a little bit on the Drake London pick because I think he was probably the third best wide receiver out of the group. I like Jamison Williams and Garrett Wilson more than I like Drake London, but and obviously Drake London has that unknown factor. I love their second round pick, bringing Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State. I think he's an absolute
Great
beast.
pick.
And by the way, you look at the track record of Penn State defensive ends, a lot of them are pretty good. James Franklin does know how to do that. He just doesn't know how to call fourth down plays. But the big news, third round, they take their quarterback, Desmond Ritter, out of Cincinnati, who I think is the most ready to play in the NFL right now. I like Ritter a lot. I think it's a great fit in Atlanta because he doesn't have to play right away. He can sit behind Marcus Mariota, learn the system. I think they'd had a really nice draft. I think it was a little. Drake London, I wouldn't say is a reach. I just had other wide receivers higher than Drake London. Back end of their draft, don't love a whole lot. They bring in Tyler Algier out of BYU, halfback. Just don't think he's going to be a big impact player. But really, you're looking at Atlanta's draft. It's those top 3 picks. I really think their second round pick, Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State, might be the steal of the draft. I think he's that good, and if he can be what I think they hoped Tack McKinley was going to be when they drafted him and saw his rookie year, I mean, this is a really nice draft for a Atlanta team in year 1 of probably a 3 or 4 year rebuild.
I go back to just the facts. Since 2012, and he's not going to be the starter. He might be the starter this year, but he's not going to be the day one starter. There's only been 2 quarterbacks since 2012 that have developed into starters that were taken in the first 3 rounds. Russell Wilson, Nick Foles. That's it. So there's like a 10% chance, 10 to 20, maybe let's call it 15, chance that this guy develops into anybody. But I kind of like the pick. And saying that, I give them a grade of B. I think we're kind of, right there. Let's see what they say. B plus. All right, so we're pretty close. B's across the board. It's a passing grade for the Falcons, and I think we both agree that the edge rusher out of Penn State. That's one of the best picks of the draft.
Yeah, and I know we don't want to spend too much time on each team because we got a lot to get through. But Scott, I think it's also fair to say that this Atlanta team probably going to have a top 10 to 5 pick next year as well.
Yeah. They're on we said it last week. They're on a 3 to 5 year road, which I feel we all are. Aren't we all on a 3 to 5 road right now? We've all been taking L's the last 2 years. We're ready to get back out there. Scott Cole, Nick Mizesko along with you. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks so much. We also do this live every week on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. There's got to be one I missed out there.
MySpace, Zanga, WordPress. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. I'm huge in China right now. Baltimore Ravens. We're going in alphabetical order. They just came out here just hitting home runs for me. You know what I mean? Kyle Hamilton at 14. Jack. Linderbaum. Jack. And these guys are in your division. Nick's unapologetic Browns fan. They had a ton of picks. And they just knocked them all out the park.
I mean, is that the most Baltimore thing to do, though? Like, Baltimore's just, I don't know, as a Browns fan, it hurt. I think they got great value with Kyle Hamilton at 14. Somebody who I think some were saying could be a top 3 pick, fell down some boards, got him great at 14. I'm a big fan of any Iowa offensive lineman, so Linderbaum to solidify that offensive line is great. Even though it pains me to say, I think David Ajabo in the second round. This is somebody who was
at
projected.
45.
This is somebody they were saying 15 to 20. I don't know
Yeah.
what happened there. I think Ajabo at times was better than Aiden Hutchinson on the same defensive line. And
Yeah.
they get him in the second round. Back half the draft, don't love as much. I don't love taking a punter in the fourth round. Don't really know what you're doing there. I love punters, but like
He kicked
fourth
like a
round punter?
90-yard. Hey, Jordan Stout out of Penn State kicked like a 90-something yarder from the end zone. Like, come on now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't love the back half as much, but obviously it's all about those first couple of rounds. I think, if you give anything less than an A minus, I think you're just a salty Browns fan. So I'm gonna give them a D because I hate them.
That tells you how kind of good their team is, right? They get
Yeah.
11 picks, and at 130, they're like, yeah, Jordan Stout, punter from Penn State. Let's make it happen.
Here's what I will say. I'm gonna knock them out of the A range. I'm gonna give them a B plus for one reason and one reason only,
Because
Scott.
you're the Browns fan.
No. That's why I gave him a D. No, because they went out and traded away Hollywood Brown and did not pick another wide receiver in this draft. Their top wide receiver right now is Devin Duvernay. They didn't
Wow.
address their biggest need, getting rid of Hollywood Brown. I understand that they got a lot of great value, but is this just them steering into Lamar Jackson's not that good of a passer, so we're running the full-on Navy offense at this point?
Yeah, we're a lot of 5-yard drags. Like that's kind of the move. Let's see what the experts said. We like to see what the experts are throwing out there.
Yeah.
They had Baltimore at an A. I had them at an A too. I thought it was just tremendous. I
Ravens.
I agree that they still need help at wide receiver, but they made the correct drafts.
Yeah.
Like there's enough guys out there, and a lot of undrafted wide receivers.
Yeah.
I saw my guy Justin Ross from Clemson, who Alabama could not cover in a championship game. He ended up being an unrestricted free agent going to Kansas City. So you never know. And by the way, Crook for the win in the chat says Raiders are cheaters when it comes to the draft. Yeah, they got the Konami code.
Yep.
There's no question about that. All right, let's move around to the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the move? They jumped up 2 spots to get Elam, and I guess they thought that he was going to come off the board, and at all costs, they moved up to 23 to grab him.
I mean, again, I think, Elam's one of those guys that when you talk about, the build for the cornerback, this is a guy who's built for it. He has his physicals really nice, fills a big need. I think they really needed another corner. I thinking about that Tre'Davious White, Kyer Elam duo is going to be a lot of fun. I'm interested to see what they do with their second round pick, James Cook, the halfback out of Georgia. Obviously, they needed a halfback. Their running game was putrid outside of Josh Allen. I just don't know what James Cook does that Devin Singletary doesn't do. I don't think they picked somebody who was like markedly better. But let's be honest, their best pick, it was, of course, special teams do matter. 6th round, Matt Arriaza out of San Diego State, the big boy, the big boot. It's the best pick. Give those Bills an A for me.
Hey, Balen Spector out of Clemson. I got to throw that in there at the end. How many Georgia players went off the board, man? Like when you win a title, and I guess it kind of goes hand in hand, right? You're usually going to have upperclassmen that are really, really good at football. And we saw a lot of Georgia Bulldogs, along with, Alabama Crimson Tide players as well, kind of fly off the board. And we're going to see a lot of these teams picking again at the top and probably picking similar guys. What kind of grade did you give the Bills? I thought they had a decent draft, but nothing crazy.
I'm gonna give them. I think they're B. They're just a firm B for me. I like the Elam pick. I think the Cook pick will sort of be how when we look back at the end of the year, if we do like a retrospective on the draft, if Cook can turn into anything, it's obviously an A draft. Beyond that, they're taking a flyer on Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. That's 5th round wide receiver. See if he can't make some noise in that busy Bills wide receiver room. Again, back half of the draft is a lot of dice rolls. You look at the top picks, you're going to be judging the top picks. I think Elam is a nice pick, especially at 23. So I think it's a B. I think they had a good draft.
And I like this. I like these kind of things. Yo, how you been? Hey, what's up, Jax? Good to see you. Like that's how you know we're live. Yeah, for me, they're a B. It's I didn't love moving up 2, but I also know that I thought Elam was the second best kind of shutdown corner behind Ahmad Gardner. I like I like the kid out of LSU. I'm drawing a blank.
Stingley.
Stingley. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. It's all the same.
Sure, why not?
A lot of names over this past week. I think he's maybe the best all around corner. Um, but I felt as far as man defense, I thought that Elam was good. I don't know if it was worth
Yeah.
jumping up those two. Let's see what the experts say here. They had the Bills at an A. So we've kind of yet to get up to the top here. You're thinking, man, if they gave some of these teams a C, man, they must have had really, really bad
drafts. Like bad.
Speaking of bad drafts, let's jump into the Panthers, who they had an A minus. Didn't have a lot of picks. Now they do have an offensive tackle forever, right? Like as long as they can keep him, this guy's going to play in the league for as long as he wants. The guy from NC State. I love picking guys from the Carolinas to be on a Carolina team. I thought that was cool. But Ike Iwantu out of NC State, you got your left tackle for the future, right? So you got that. In having a great left tackle, can you now build that line, maybe get a quarterback? They did go with the quarterback in the next pick of the 94th pick. They're in the third round, the guy from Ole Miss, Matt Corral. But in looking through this, and I was talking to our friend, one great user, who's a big Panther aficionado. He's just like, I was like, hey, what'd you think of the draft? And he's like, nothing special. I'm probably going C+ here. That's how I felt about the Panthers draft. They didn't have a lot of picks. And I love the first pick at number 6, because if they would have taken Pickett or some other quarterback, I would have lost it. I'd be like, come on now. But they also knew they had to take a quarterback. So I think at number 3, they were just like, yeah, man, we know there's better players, but we're handcuffed. Matt Corral. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ike Ikwonu pick. I think it's nice keeping the NC State boy home. You always love to see those stories. He doesn't have to move far from home. I think it's a great pick. Beyond that, it's kind of a stinker. Matt Corral, the pick. I like Sam Howell more than I like Matt Corral, and Sam Howell was available. I think Corral's a project. I don't think he's somebody who they're going to be able to. I think, to me, Matt Corral's a career backup. And then beyond that, they had a nice pick in the 6th round. Cade Mays out of Tennessee. He's a big guard that can soar. I think will play. And if he can develop a little bit, I think can be a really nice.
I thought that was a great value pick at 199. You're right.
Yeah, but I mean, beyond that, nothing excites me about that. And if it doesn't excite me, to me, that's a C. And I'd like to know what the NFL.com people were thinking, giving them an A. If we're just grading first round, sure. It's a great pick for Icky, but there's like 6 rounds after those, and you kept broadcasting them.
And I think some people are always afraid in this world of kind of outtakes and old exposed takes that next thing you know, you're going to be saying something like you said about Brady, and maybe Matt Corral ends up being like a superstar, right?
I'll apologize.
You just never know, right? At this point. Deeds, good to see you in chat. We got yeah, he spelled himself Vezip.
Yeah, I'm calling you Vezip now.
How do you do this? How do you like just spell your name wrong?
Foolish. Just foolish.
That's a thing. That's a thing now. Moving on to the Bears, who they got an A-. Like, dude, no. Like, no. This is C-, D+ territory for me. Like, and they had a ton of picks. But let's be honest, a majority of these picks, Nick, are in the back half of the draft. A lot of 6th round, a lot of 7 rounds. They had 11 picks in total. And I want to say 8 of those were in the final 3 rounds. So Kyler Gordon, cornerback from Washington, nice pick. Brisker from Penn State, I thought was a searchable safety. So they're trying to get some of the secondary help that they needed. But Velus Jones at 71, they better hope he turns into something crazy, because if he doesn't, this is just a bust kind of draft.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Scott. Not going to spend a lot of time on your Bears.
No.
To me, this is a D. I think that this draft stinks. Kyler Gordon, I think, is a nice pick. I don't know. I think he's good. Pac-12 corners, dice rolls as they are. Velus Jones, let's call it for what it is. Velus Jones is a return man. He's not a great wide receiver. He was a really good return man at Tennessee, but as a wide receiver, he had some problems running routes. And then everything else beyond that, I mean, you're taking edge players out of Miami of Ohio. Big shout out to the Red Hawks. I mean, took a punter, took a couple offensive linemen who I don't think, Jatire Carter, guard out of Southern, I don't think is going to crack it. Like, Scott, I think this draft stinks.
We are getting down to the Browns, as people are thinking, but yeah, currently talking about the Bears right now, and I think it's a D plus kind of draft. By the way, because of the COVID stuff, we now have a 25-year-old rookie. That's who I'm talking about from Tennessee, who's going to be playing a slot receiver for the Bears, and Mr. Jones. And by the way, Robinson, Thomas, and Kramer, the center from Illinois, will all be 24-year-old rookies. So they drafted 4 guys that are 24 years old. Like, yeah, here we are. Like, we're drafting 7-year seniors now to make it in. Let's move along to the Bengals, last year's AFC champs. They had the 31st pick. I like Daxon Hill out of Michigan. I thought it was a fine pick. They followed it up with another defensive back, the guy from Nebraska, Cam Taylor-Britt. It was just a so-so draft for me. They didn't have a ton of picks. We know they're a good team. I thought they did a nice job kind of filling in the places that they were deficient in, and hopefully they can coach them up and develop them up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a B draft for me. A good draft for the defending AFC champs. Daxton Hill is a nice player. I know that Jesse Bates and Von Bell both have contracts coming up, so some insurance for, obviously they're probably not going to keep both of them because they're both going to be looking to get big contracts. Cam Taylor-Britt, bit of a reach in the second round. I think he was more of a third, fourth round grade, but if they can develop him, can be a nice corner. And then, you bring in some offensive line help in the fourth round. I still don't love the draft because I still think this is a team that needs to protect Joe Burrow, and they didn't do a great job of that last year. He was the most sacked quarterback in the league, but they brought him some stuff in the offseason. Not a lot of value here on the O-line. I think Daxton Hill is going to be what this class grades on. I'm just going to give him a B. It was a solid draft for a team that just didn't have a lot of picks and didn't have a lot of needs.
2W in the chat saying, hey, they should have went for the line. They should have protected the Joe Burrow at all cost. They'll get there. I mean, it takes a long time to be in the league to get the Tony Romo / Brady treatment, right? Where all of a sudden you're doing everything you can to protect the guy back there. We'll see. We'll see if it's a flash in the pan for them. I also had them at a B minus. That was my kind of feel about this Bengals draft. That NFL.com had them at an A minus. Now to the Cleveland Browns, who, man, if they got them at a B, I cannot wait to see what our Browns beat writer reporter, Nick Mizesko, has to say. Oh, man, I'm looking at this list, man. Man, I didn't mind the Jerome Ford pick, but, like, dude, you got running backs. Like, what are you doing? Like, a lot of these picks didn't make sense, but I got to know from a Browns fan what you thought.
I'm sad, Scott. I'm just sad.
Look at this. Look at this grade. 5 Fs.
Listen, Emerson. Emerson's a cool. He's a nice player. They traded Troy Hill after the draft.
Yeah.
Because they drafted Emerson. Don't really know what that was. They draft a kicker in the 4th round. That always goes poorly, but they did have the worst kicking unit in the league. So, okay.
And Cade York's a good kicker. He really is a good kicker.
My favorite pick out of it, I like David Bell a lot. He was a really nice player at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
He ran a 4.5, 4.40. So,
yeah.
There's
linebackers that
are
covering him.
I'm biased as a Browns fan. This is an F. This draft was horrible. Like, this was legit baffling. Jerome Ford. We have 3 running backs on the roster. Why do we need another one? Don't get it. Perrion Winfrey is a nice defensive tackle, but I just maybe I'm too D minus. This draft was awful. This was really bad.
I'll bring you back to reality here. I thought it was a C plus, maybe a C. But looking through here, it's like, man, you got a slow ride receiver, as you said. I thought maybe Winfrey in the 4th, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma. I know that's not a sexy thing, but that's something the Browns needed, and they have. And I thought that was a good value pick at 108. So
yeah, I mean, again, if we're gonna judge the Cardinals based on the fact they moved for Hollywood Brown, we do kind of have to judge the Browns based on they moved for Deshaun Watson. They traded away their 1st round pick for this. So congratulations, you get a C.
Now, yeah, if Deshaun comes back, gets cleared, all that kind of stuff. All right. Every move you made was worth it. But Jim Brown ain't walking through that door. Let's move on to the boy cows, the Dallas Cowboys. I thought this was a terrible draft. C minus for me. I'm just refreshing myself with the names here, looking through them. Kind of a typical draft in the back end for the Cowboys. A lot of linebackers, a lot of linemen. I think the kid from North Dakota is going to be okay. What's that? Wallitzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
Nick
a kind of
Mizesko,
nice
yeah.
pick.
Hi.
Yeah, Nick Mizesko at 155. I thought that was a pretty good pick.
Glad to get the call, man. About time.
Amari Cooper's out of there. Do you think this Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama, you think that was a good pick?
Yeah, Tolbert's a nice piece. I think he had some pretty good measurables at what I like to call the Underwear Olympics, aka the NFL Combine. Ran a 4.49 40. I think he's a solid player. Obviously, they still have some pieces out there. Listen, this draft was fine. I think their best pick is probably Sam Williams, the edge threat out of Ole Miss. Had some, what's the nice word they use? Character concerns. He had some character concerns, and I think that's why
some character concerns.
He fell down some draft boards because of that. I think he's a nice player. To me, this is a B- draft. To me, it is very Dallas Cowboy though. A lot of the big boys. Let's try to replace some of those guys that we've lost over the last couple of years. But just nothing flashy from Dallas.
A lot of flyer picks, a lot of big swings there on day 3 for the Cowboys. I give it a C minus. I'm sure the guys at NFL.com maybe thought it was the greatest draft of all time. They gave him a B. All right. So back-to-back Bs. That should tell you what your draft was on par. That they had the same similar draft to the Browns. I think that's probably about right.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos, who NFL.com gave them an A. I don't think that's that far off. I thought it was a B, high B plus. They had some nice picks in there, especially on day 2. The kid from the edge rusher from Oklahoma,
Delaren Turner-Yell,
yeah, Bonito. No, that's the guy I like. I like the other guy too, the safety from Turner-Yell.
Nick
two
Bonito.
Oklahoma guys.
They had two Oklahoma guys. That's right. They're dipping into the Sooner well.
And I like those. I like those 2 picks. Shoot, good to see you. We're running through some NFL stuff right now. We do a sports show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So you can see we talk a little bit of everything, as you can tell by Nick's attire over here, sporting the Liverpool. So we dip every once in a while into. We do need to talk some Champions League at some point here. Denver Broncos. I just thought it was a B plus. Probably closer to a B plus because they had a lot of picks, especially in those first 5 rounds. I think they'll find a place for all those on that team. That team certainly needed something, and you have to throw in the Russell Wilson trade in there too. I think that kind of brings it up to a B plus, A minus for me.
It's got to be. I mean, again, if we're counting the Russell Wilson trade, it's an A minus. It is they brought in their quarterback to solidify a good offense. A team that has a lot of young wide receivers. It's a team that's built through the draft a lot. This draft is nice. Nick Bonito, nice pick. I think Greg Dulcich is a nice replacement for Noah Fant, who went over to Seattle in that trade. And I think they got some nice players sort of on the back end. Luke Wattenberg out of Washington is a big physical center. Obviously, center's not the most sexy pick in the world, but for a Denver Broncos team that's trying to build somebody to compete in the murderer's row that's known as the AFC West, this was a good draft.
And I'm okay going at that division being a center. I'm not okay going at division being a tackle right now.
No, thank you. Pass.
High pass on that. Couple reaches at the end of the draft. With Mathis, not Mathis at the end of the draft. He's a physical corner that they got there. That kind of plays Denver Broncos kind of safety defense. So I think that'll be nice. Let's go on to the Detroit Lions, who, oh my goodness. Thank you. If you're a Lions fan, you're like, thank you, Jacksonville. Thank you for letting Aiden Hutchinson just fall right in our lap. That probably takes a B plus draft to an A minus immediately.
I'm going to give them, I think B plus is right where they are, honestly. The Hutchinson pick is really nice. I like the aggressive moving up to get Jamison Williams. I do question it a little bit, not because of Jamison Williams. I think Jamison Williams is great.
Yeah.
He does still have Jared Goff throwing to him, but I think Jamison Williams is really nice. I do question as to a team in Detroit where they have so many holes to fill and they're in the middle of a rebuild. Was it more valuable keeping 32 and 34 and having 2 picks there where they could have gotten some value at the end of the first round, especially with, could you have seen a team in Detroit go and take David Ajabo at 34 and put the Michigan offensive line back together in Detroit? Maybe.
Do you want to see Baker Mayfield there? Do you want to see
I want to see
Colin
Baker Mayfield
Kaepernick
anywhere
get a
but
try?
Cleveland. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
I don't know. I think Baker is a better fit in Seattle, but apparently Pete Carroll loves Drew Lock. You got me. I think he would be a nice, especially with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think the Lions all of a sudden are kind of a nice young team, and have the cap space for Baker. This is a B+ for me. Scott, your thoughts? Give me 1 second. There's somebody banging on my door, so I'm gonna find out what Jehovah's Witness is there.
I can handle that part. Yeah, for the Detroit Lions, like I said, B+, A-. That's the world I live in. And yes, I concur with needing do not knock, no solicitations on our doors. Everybody knows we're at home nowadays. Let's move on. Let's check what the experts had to say first. They gave the Lions a B+. Wow. I think a lot of people out there feel like, and I don't know what the chat thinks, that maybe they should have taken a swing somewhere in this draft on Malik Willis before he became a Titan. But they didn't. But, the nice thing about looking through these picks for the Detroit Lions, I really thought they moved up and took some athleticism, something that Detroit has struggled with over the years, being athletic. That a majority, if not all the players they took were very athletic players on both sides of the football. Let's jump up to the top middle here. NFL.com gave the Green Bay Packers an A draft. I'm not loving it. First of all, you let one of your best wide receivers get gone, right? And we were just expecting a wide receiver to drop in this first round. They had pick 22. They moved up pick 28. They took both defensive players from Georgia in Quay Walker, the linebacker. Love that pick at 22. And I actually love Devontae Wyatt. I know he had some concerns kind of on and off the field at pick number 28, but great picks on the defensive end for Green Bay. And they don't have to change their logo too much. They're going from Georgia to Green Bay. They're just changing a little bit of colors there. Moving on. Yeah, look at Slumbuster. He's jumping in here. He's saying, I think the Packers got the best wide receiver in the draft, 99 athleticism. Yeah, I hope you're talking about Christian Watson. I know you're referring to him earlier in the show from North Dakota State. Yeah, I mean, this is a surprising player that you saw playing for the Bison up at North Dakota State. Could get open anywhere. Let's just hope we're not seeing another Carson Wentz coming out of North Dakota State, a very talented FCS program, or that's what we're still calling them. I love this draft. They had a ton of picks, especially in the first 4 rounds. If I'm looking at it, you got Aaron Rodgers, who's turning 39. Devontae Adams is gone. You're going to need a lot of production at a Christian Watson, and Crook's coming in going, yeah, he had a ton of drops in college. It's crazy that, Devontae Adams had 450 yards his rookie season, right? So if we're going to put him, you're not going to have someone step in and be Devontae Adams as a rookie, but can he come in and develop a little bit? Nick, as we're talking about this Green Bay Packers draft, I liked the 2 Georgia guys they took, and the chat, and I'm on board too. They're really liking Christian Watson that they took at number 34 out of North Dakota State.
Yeah, I think it was a good draft, by the way. Don't need Jesus Christ in my life, but it was somebody's dog got out of their house. And they were
okay. Well, that's more important than the show we're doing. You know how we feel about puppies on this show.
I was just bailed. But I really like Quay Walker. I think it's a nice replacement in that linebacking core. I think Christian Watson, I like some of the other wide receivers that were there a little bit more in the second round, but I think his build fits what Aaron Rodgers wants. I think they got Aaron Rodgers a wide receiver and showed that they don't hate him too much. This was a good draft for the Packers. I don't know. I don't think it was flashy. I think they got some nice pieces on the back end, some offensive line help. Um, to me, this is a B plus draft. I really like their top 3 picks though. And I think Devontae White can be really, really disruptive. I mean, boy, oh boy, Georgia just builds great defensive players.
Yeah, and he would have gone much higher. Another guy that we would have gone much higher if we maybe had some off the field issues he was dealing with. And
Mhm.
Cooch in the chat says, hey, with Rodgers signing a 3-year deal, they let Adams go. They're not expecting a Super Bowl run. I think they could still make a Super Bowl run from the NFC side of it.
Mhm.
But whoever they face in the AFC, and maybe that's how a lot of the NFC teams feel like they're just a juggernaut,
Yeah.
um, at this point. Let's move on. Houston Texans, and we will not spend a lot of time because they needed everything. But I think we discussed earlier in the program that we both really like Derek Stingley
Yeah.
from LSU at that number 3 pick. You need everything, and I still feel like he was the best available at number 3.
This to me is an A draft. It was kind of hard for them not to hit an A draft unless they reached out exorbitantly high. They had
Yeah.
so many needs across the board. It was about making solid picks. I think Stingley is a nice pick. I think Kenyon Green, maybe a little underrated coming out of A&M, but a nice offensive line piece. I love what they did in the second round. Jalen Petre out of Baylor is a nice defensive back they can put out there, and John Mechie out of Alabama. This dude's a winner. This dude is a real. I wanted the Browns to take John Mechie. That's how much I liked Mechie. And then let's not forget, third round, they get Christian Harris out of Alabama. This draft to me, Scott, is exactly what Houston needed. Obviously, in the big part of a rebuild, obviously, quarterback position still a question mark. I think Davis Mills isn't as bad as I think people make him out to be. His stats were actually pretty good as a rookie with a very bad team. Could that be a landing spot for Baker Mayfield? Possibly. I just thought this was a good draft.
Yeah, I hope Mechie the third isn't a reach because I kind of had him in the mid 50s, like number 56 or something on my big board for him to go at 44. But when they need everything, I mean, what do you do? What do you do when you're talking about the Houston Texans? Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts, the Fighting Matt Ryans now. Didn't love the draft. They had four picks, that second rounder, then 3/3, kind of those first 2 days. When I looked at it, we both like Bernard Raymond to maybe even go higher. So if we're looking at it based on our mock draft, now we come back into here, kind of like Bernard Raymond, then be able to pick him up at number 77.
This is a B minus draft for me, Scott. I think Raymond at 77 is a steal. I really think he's good. I know he went to Central Michigan. I know Maction doesn't get a lot of view outside of Friday night, but I really like that pick for them. It's just outside of that, I don't love it. Alec Pierce, I think there were better wide receivers on the board. Jelani Woods, they took 2 tight ends, Jelani Woods and Andrew Ogletree. I don't know what they're doing, taking multiple tight ends. This draft was just kind of weird, and I think the big one is that they didn't have a first round pick, and that hurts them. And in the same way, what's up, Chew? I think in the same way that we are talking about teams who traded for players.
Yeah,
I think trading away picks has to be factored in here, and I think they gave up a lot for Matt Ryan, giving away a
they
first
did.
round pick, and I think that hurt them.
Yeah, I think that's why we knock him down as well. Even NFL.com's got him at a C. Let's move on to the number 1 pick, Jacksonville
Woo!
Jaguars.
Let's talk about the Jaguars, Scotty.
Just terrible.
Oh my God.
Terrible. And I actually do think Trayvon Walker will cash in. I do think that he is going to be a great player. But the number 1 pick, that just tells me no one wanted to come up and get that number 1 pick. Like nobody wanted it. They had a guy they wanted to take in the top 10. They were hoping to move back or something like that, maybe get some value. They didn't. So they're just like, Trayvon Walker? Question mark. And maybe they hope he'll stay. If he reached for someone, maybe they hope he'll stay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, to answer the question, this is Chase Young. That's my boy Chase Young. Trayvon Walker, complete miss. Could he be good? Absolutely. Dude was the underwear Olympics champion, but this is a guy who did not produce that much in college, and I can't get over that. That scares me. If he's that good, why didn't he produce? I give this Jacksonville Jaguars draft a D. And here's the biggest reason. I love the Devin Lloyd pick at 27. I think that's a steal. I think Devin Lloyd was top 15.
Me too.
And then they go take Chad Muma in the third round, who plays the exact same position. Oh, wait. They also, in the offseason, side Foyesade Olukun from the Atlanta Falcons, gave him a big. What do you do? Trent Baalke has lost his mind. The only benefit from this draft is that they drafted a cornerback out of Ouachita Baptist University, and that's a fun thing to say. This draft was bad.
You saw Baalke's quote afterwards. He's like, "You can never have too many linebackers."
Yes,
I mean,
you
like
can.
that's
That's a
literally
lie.
that's literally their deal. Of course, they're hoping Lloyd's going to be a Micah Parsons kind of player, right?
Yeah.
And I think everyone wants to see the Jags better, right? I mean, they're the team they used to be the Browns or something like that.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, listen, maybe they've got a plan. You've heard of nickel packages, you've heard of dime package. They're about to run like the double penny package with 7 linebackers out there. I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe they figure one of them will stay. I know I keep going back to that, but that's the deal. They gave our friends in Jacksonville a
Go away.
B plus.
Shut up.
I'm
Wrong.
at a D.
Incorrect.
D.
D.
D. D. Kansas City Chiefs. NFL.com's got them at an A. I got them at a B. I like McDuffie. I thought Karlaftis maybe would have gone sooner, so I like him at 30. Even when you saw Travis Kelce up there, he's like, all right, we're picking up some defense. They need some defense. Can they turn Sky Moore into something? The Bronco from Western Michigan. I thought it was a fine draft. Nothing that was like, oh, this is crazy. But in the first 2 days, I thought they had a decent draft.
I'll tell you this, Scott. I give the Kansas City Chiefs an A, and they might be in my top 3 favorite drafts of the night because I think they got 3 steals at the top of their picks. I think McDuffie was the 3rd best corner coming out, and they were able to get him in the first round. You know how big I was on George Karlaftis. I think Karlaftis is an absolute stud, and they need an offensive line help. And getting Sky Moore in the 2nd round out of Western Michigan, I think is a great pick for them, looking to replace a guy in Tyreek Hill. Obviously, they have Juju. Obviously, they have the great Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but I think Sky Moore is a great fit for that and can obviously slot into that 1 or 2 role. And then you look at the back end of their draft. They get some offensive line help. Darian Kennard out of Kentucky, a nice interior guard that can sort of help out a hole that they've needed to fill since Duvernay Tardif went out. And then it's a biased pick from the Big Ten, but in the 7th round, they took Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers. Listen, Rutgers was pathetic. This is a bad football team, but Pacheco runs hard every play. And for a team that I'm not a big Clyde Edwards-Helaire guy, I think he is kind of
I'm not
slow
a triple
out of
name
blocks.
guy anyway. If you got 3 names, I'm kind of soft on you.
I don't love them. I don't love their running backs as they are. I think Pacheco can make some noise in camp. I really like this draft.
Let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. They were hosting the draft. They didn't have a lot to root for. They didn't have a lot of picks. I think they pretty much got everything set the way they want. They ended up picking up Zamir White, the running back out of Georgia. I think he'll be a nice spell for Jacobson there. Not a lot of picks. Nothing in the first 2 rounds. B, right? You passed.
They get an A+ for me. They took Thayer Munford in the 7th round. Shout out to my Buckeyes. Big shout out to Thayer Munford leading that offensive line. Yeah, this B-,
Wow.
B. I mean, this is just didn't trip over the finish line. It's fine. They didn't have a lot of picks. We judged them based on what they did in the offseason. Guess what? They brought in Devontae Adams. So they get an A for their offseason. The draft itself is firmly a C because they didn't do anything exciting. So you average those together, it's a B.
Not hating on it. Moving along because there's not a lot of talk about there. Los Angeles Chargers, who we still feel like should be in San Diego, but we get it. They took Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. This is a league that you're going to have elite linemen to go along with elite quarterbacks to try to get out of that division. I love their offseason, by the way. They might have one of the best off seasons we've seen.
Yeah.
I just thought their draft was okay. B- B kind of draft. If I'm picking a name that kind of jumped out at me, that maybe can turn into something, maybe Sawyer. He's kind of a combo lineman, can fit in there at tackle or guard. They've had some injuries along the line in the past. He's a guy that maybe you can plug in there and he can get something done. And I don't mind Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M as well. They've had some injuries at running back over the years. Knock Melvin Gordon.
This is a C- draft for me, Scott. I like Zion Johnson. I think that's somebody that can start for them for a long time. But everything else behind him, I just don't get. JT Woods, they use a 3rd round pick on a safety out of Baylor. but they already have Adderley. They already had Derwin James. It seemed like a weird choice to me.
Yeah.
They bring in Isaiah Spiller, but they have Austin Eckler, who eats up so many snaps at halfback. Like, this just seemed like a weird draft. I do like Sellier out of Georgia. I think he can be a nice offensive line piece. And I do think Jasir Taylor out of Wake Forest. That Wake Forest team much improved on defense last year. And a lot of it was because
Wake Forest looked real
Taylor.
good.
They looked real good, and Jasir Taylor, this is a guy who, I thought he had a really nice combine. I mean, this is somebody who I think could make some noise as a slot corner, perhaps. But to me, this was a seed draft because this was another one of those I felt like they were taking some luxury picks out there, and I don't know why they were doing that.
So we move on to the Rams, the world champion Rams. Don't get to say that too often. Been a while.
How long do we need to talk about this one, Scott?
Not very long. I do like Darian Kendrick, who played at Clemson, played at Georgia last year, moved over there. Kyron Williams, the running back from Notre Dame, I thought he runs pretty hard. So you look at their team and you're like, all right, nothing sexy here, but they took the exact kind of players they need. And when we say average, this is an average draft. So we're going to say B.
Yeah, this is B minus for me. I think their best pick is probably Jacoby Durant out of South Carolina State. He's a little undersized, but I think he can play that nickel corner role. The Kyron Williams pick, I like Kyron Williams. I think he was a nice back. They have a lot of backs already. They got Cam Akers. They got Darrell Henderson. I don't know why you're taking the third running back. This was fine. This is a fine draft. Obviously, this is the payment for being a Super Bowl champion as they traded away some picks for Matt Stafford. And congratulations to the world champion Los Angeles Rams. You didn't need to do a whole lot.
No, you didn't. And you didn't. So let's check in with our NFL.com guys. They had the Chargers at an A, Rams at an A.
This class is curved.
Or giving the Dolphins a B, and that's kind of where I had the Dolphins. They gave a lot of things away, right? And actually, they got some great players in return. Some proven players, so I don't mind that. But when you look at their draft, hey, took a guy out of Georgia, and I thought Tyndall played pretty well. That's kind of a mix it in linebacker for the Bulldogs last year, but it just became popular. I'm very interested in maybe what Skylar Thompson can do, right? When that pick came through at 247, I said,
interesting.
That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, this is a B draft to me, only because I think Channing Tindall, I think on most draft boards had a second round grade, and for them to be able to get him at not just third, but 102 as a compensatory pick, I think is a steal. But beyond that, they had 4 picks. Their offseason is going to be judged based on Tyreek Hill. So
this Tyndall pick, by the way, could be big. I want to circle back to it because last year he didn't play. He didn't start a game. Yep. But you talk about the Underwear Olympics. I mean, he came through and he's like, you throw Dean out there and some of the other. I hate to say they were all from Georgia.
He ran a 4.47 40 at linebacker. Yeah. Like, he's crazy. A beast. And again, I'm fine.
So I'm fine with that pick at number 3. Like,
there you go.
For someone
that round Underwear Olympic guys, cool. Number 1 overall? Question mark.
Yeah. Can you delay your pick by 101 picks? Jacksonville. Let's move on to the Vikings here. They had a ton of picks. I'm talking a ton. Seen from Georgia, man, I feel like we're having the Georgia draft show here. Yeah. But it kind of was. That was, it's turned into the blue chip Georgia, Clemson, LSU, Oklahoma, North Carolina. These are the guys they're taking. I don't like the Gamecocks, but I do like Nick Muse at 227. I think that was a good pick for him. Scene was probably, to me, the second best safety behind Kyle Hamilton. So I didn't mind that pick at number 32 for their opening round.
Yeah, this to me, Scott, is a C to C minus draft to me. First draft for the new general manager, Kwesi, coming in from the Cleveland Browns. See you, dog. And right now I'm not missing him because this draft was very okay. I like the Andrew Booth pick in the second round. I think Booth was really nice at some school that nobody likes. But beyond that,
Remember, they were at 12. I think that's worth putting out there. That
they traded back.
I give them a lower grade, and I know they got more draft picks, but I had them at a B plus. But when I remembered that they could have had Kyle Hamilton, they could have had Jordan Davis, all the players they could have had at 12, looking at what they got, I don't know if there really was a value there.
And by the way,
Um,
Crook with a great point. They did it by trading in the division. They literally gave their
yeah,
division
look at
mates better
this.
players. Like that
So
is
yeah, like you got to lose a little
confusing.
bit of grade for
Yeah.
just doing that,
I
right?
put them at a C minus. I think Booth can be a really nice corner. I also 6th round pick Jalen Naylor out of Michigan State. This guy who made some big catches for a Michigan State team that did not pass the ball well at all. This is a run first team, but when they needed a big catch, Jalen Naylor was that guy. Especially as Adam Thielen getting up there. This is Naylor can play in the slot, be between
Yep.
Jefferson and Thielen. But beyond that, I just don't love anything about what they did trading back. And I think Lewis Seen, I don't love the pick because if you were going to go safety and you were looking for somebody, like, why aren't you taking Kyle Hamilton at 12? Because he went 2 picks later.
Change the coach, change the GM.
Same old Vikings.
Same old Vikings. I think that's a good way to pick.
This one's going to be fun, Scott.
New England Patriots, who I think had the worst draft.
F.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next team. This draft was horrible. And
You
again,
fail.
and here's what I also understand. I understand by us saying it's horrible, in 5 years when these guys are perennial, they're talking about their Hall of Fame careers and how smart Bill Belichick is. We're going to look stupid, Scott. But Cole Strange was a 3rd round grade.
Yeah.
Sean McVay actively laughing when they took Cole Strange. Tyquan Thornton, a major reach in the 2nd round. This was a weird draft. Bailey Zapp in the 4th round. You have Mac Jones. Bailey Zapp, he took a backup quarterback in the 4th round. This was an F draft. And here's what I say. Somebody said, well, what happens if Cole Strange turns into something
Hey, Tom
great?
Brady was a backup.
Yeah, that's true. But I was talking to my friend I was at the draft with. And he went, what happens if Cole Strange turns into something great? Isn't that a great pick? And I go, no, because here's why. You could have taken Cole Strange in the 2nd round.
At 50.
He would have still been there.
That's right.
You overused the value. I don't care if he turns into a Hall of Famer. You could have had a Hall of Famer with a 2nd round pick and picked somebody better than you got in the 2nd round with Tyquan Thornton. It was at 29. There were still plenty of good players. Like, this was baffling, Scott.
Cannot wait to see the documentary on Andrew Stuber out of Michigan. 20 years from now, perennial All-Pro.
Perennial All-Pro, greatest
Hall of
offensive lineman
Famer.
in the history. Orlando Pace, Andrew Stuber, the 2 greatest tackles in the history of the game.
That's happening. Let's jump along to the Saints, who, by the way, just got Tyrann Mathieu. We talked about that on the opening part of the program.
Hey, at least NFL.com didn't give the Patriots like a B+.
No, that was the lowest grade they gave, right?
Scott, this is the first grade I have seen from the NFL for the New Orleans Saints that I went, that is to me criminally low. This Saints draft to me is a B+. I know they didn't have a lot of picks.
No,
but they had 2 first-round picks that they knocked out of the park. I think Olave is a great fit. I texted you the day of the draft. Saints love Ohio State players, and they take Chris Olave, who I thought was a great fit for them, especially if Michael Thomas comes back this year. You have a 1-2 punch in Thomas and Olave. I guess hire Urban Meyer at that point and just build Ohio State Campus South. I don't know what you're doing, but I think
hire Urban Meyer. Can we just be
don't
done
do
with
that?
that?
I was just kidding. The joke.
That dude should be a manager at a Blockbuster Video.
Kids, don't hire Urban Meyer. Just remember that. Stay in school. I think Trevor Penning, though, at 19 might be the better pick. I think Penning was really good at Northern Iowa. They lose Teron Armstead in the offseason. This is an immediate fill-in spot. I know they didn't have a lot behind that, but you add in the fact that they signed Tyrann Mathieu. I love what the Saints did. The only thing that I question, and it's not really a question so much for other teams, how much do you believe in Jameis Winston? To me, I think Jameis Winston is perfectly fine, especially for the other options out there. I'd obviously rather have Jameis Winston than I think any of the quarterbacks that were drafted. And I'd rather have Jameis Winston right now than a lot of the quarterbacks that were signed. So I think the Saints did a really nice draft. I'm going to give them a B+.
I know you love Olave.
I love it.
But there was a lot of good wide receivers in that first. I'm not saying they were at 16 at one point, right? Am I dreaming? Am I thinking this?
Yeah, they traded up with Washington.
They moved up.
Yeah.
And traded with the Commanders. That's what I don't like about it, right? That's why I got it like a C, because I didn't love that trade. I know you like the trade, and we'll see what Olave does, but like if you set at 16, Burks or Dotson would have been there, and I think that would have been fine as well.
I mean, I think Olave fits. I think Olave is a better all-around receiver than Jahan Dotson. I think Jahan
Yeah.
Dotson screams to me the Rondale Moore build of like this is gonna be somebody who struggles to get off the blocks as a smaller, speedier wide receiver. I think Jamison Williams was the better choice. I don't. I think Jamison Williams is the better prospect. I think not seeing Jamison Williams since the ACL tear, I go.
It's a bit
There's
scary.
just a little bit of a question mark there. I really like this draft. I think the Saints did a really nice job. I think Trevor Penning, I think, is the bigger win for them at 19, able to get somebody to fill in that Teron Armstead role.
New York Giants might have had the best draft. They kind of crushed it early.
The two teams that share the stadium had the best drafts. Yeah. I mean, I will put the Jets. I think I think the Giants are 1A. There's one thing I think holds the Giants back from getting that 1A spot or that top spot. But Thibodeau at 5, Scott, I had Thibodeau as number 1 off the board. I think Thibodeau is going to be a star. I think he is an absolute hit. Evan Neal. Listen, I don't think Neal was as well-rounded as Ike Ekwonu, but Neal's a pass protector, and I think that's what they needed at left tackle. I think Wan'Dale Robinson was their biggest knock. That's a reach for a guy who is a speedy underwear Olympics champion, but I think there were better wide receivers there. But I think they got some really nice value late. Micah McFadden, linebacker out of Indiana, really nice piece in the 5th round. I like that they picked up another guard late out of North Carolina, Marcus McKeithen. Listen, we have, I think, relentlessly made fun of the Giants. I think the one thing that's going to get continually knocked on is they address the offensive line position, they address defensive line.
Yep.
I'm not sure Wan'Dale Robinson fixes that wide receiver room that is Kenny Golladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Kadarius. Isn't Wan'Dale Robinson just Kadarius Toney a year later? Like, they're basically the same guy. That confuses
Yeah, I mean, we give Daniel Jones all kind of crap, right? But
rightfully so.
He's not throwing. Look who he's throwing to. I'm just saying they're both have issues. Up next, New York Jets. I thought the Giants draft was better than the Jets, but you like the Jets draft
facts
better than the Giants. So I'll let you go first.
I think the Jets had an A+ draft because they walked out of this draft. Hey, NFL.com, you got one. I legit believe that the New York Jets walked out with the best corner in the draft, the best wide receiver in the draft, and the best running back in the draft, and the guy with the most swag in the draft. I think at that point, you killed it. They took 2 Ohio State players, which obviously I'm going to love. But I think Sauce Gardner at 4, I think he was the best corner. I think Stingley was a little more well-rounded, as you mentioned, Scott, but I think Sauce Gardner as a man-to-man shutdown guy is a beast. Garrett Wilson at 10. Garrett Wilson at number 1, the best wide receiver. It was him and Williams. They're able to get him at 10. Mm-hmm. I love the Jermaine Johnson pick at 26. I think that was a really nice value there. They go out a guy who I had in the first round, Breece Hall out of Iowa State, a pass-catching running back.
I thought that was a great pick at 36.
It's a great pick, and as somebody who's going to take some pressure off of Zach Wilson. And then in the 3rd round, they go out and get Jeremy Ruckert, tight end out of Ohio State. That's somebody who obviously I've watched a lot of. He is somebody who can not only go out and make some plays with his hands, but more importantly, he is a solid blocking tight end. And when you have some running backs out there that you're going to try to mix in some screen passes, you need some mobile blockers. I think that's invaluable. Scott, this draft was a home run to me.
Yeah, well, yeah. I got a feeling when they got 2 Ohio State guys in there, you're starting to feel pretty good about this draft. A lot of people comparing Garrett Wilson to Stephon Diggs. You buying that as you snuggle?
Oh, I'm sorry. I fell into happy dreamland for a second. I listen. I think comparing wide receivers to established wide receivers is always a risky move. But I think that sort of build wide receiver fits what Garrett Wilson is. He's got great body control. That's what I think he improved the most over the last 2 years at Ohio State was. When he was a sophomore and junior, this was a guy who was that sort of lightning. He was quick down the field, but maybe a little raw in route running. He really improved his route running, and I think his body control is what made him elite, his ability to make some of those tough catches on the sidelines. So, yeah, I think Stephon Diggs is that perfect fit. The question for the Jets is going to be, can 12-year-old Zach Wilson find a way to hit him in the hands?
Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. I got this as a B+ because I got to throw the A.J. Brown trade in there. Right?
Oh my God, what a move, Scott. What a
I mean,
move.
Hurts
He's
like a
younger
kid,
than that
like
Bayless Jones guy, the
yeah.
Tennessee wide receiver.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts was
Yeah.
giddy about his brand new wide receiver. Um, and I like it because you get a proven guy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, uh, Goat Khan in here is talking about yeah, you got to wait on see what wide receivers
Yeah.
do. Yeah, but with AJ Brown, you don't. It's like insert W's when it
Yeah.
comes to um, and I like the other picks. Jordan Davis at 13. I thought he was the best defensive tackle on the board. Nakobe Dean, I'm super surprised he dropped all the way to 83.
Yeah.
I mean, and kind of floored he dropped to 83. So if some of these players that they picked kind of edge out and you throw AJ Brown in there, like nicely done, Eagles, even though I don't like anything about your team or your people or your fans. And you know that. I think you know that. I think you own that. But nice job. B plus, A minus kind of draft if you throw AJ Brown in there.
Yeah, I think this is an A- even without AJ Brown. Honestly, Jordan Davis is a stud at D
Mm-hmm.
tackle. Kind of got overlooked because the other Georgia players that were in this draft, but I think that's such a great Fletcher Cox style player. I mean, that defensive
Oh,
line.
they're going to
look
love
out.
him.
Oh my God, that's gonna be a fun play. Cam Jurgens is gonna be the heir apparent to Jason Kelsey when he retires. Kelsey's 38 years old. And then Nakobe Dean, the guy that everybody watched fall down the boards. The rumors were coming out that he had a torn labrum that had to get repaired. He might not even play this year, but at the end of the day, I know he's undersized. But this dude is a defensive leader. And that's something that the Eagles have lacked for a while. They need that guy in the middle, that linebacker to lead them. I think Howie Roseman did a great job with his draft, and they go out and get A.J. Brown. I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, this is probably the best weekend you've had since Nick Foles was raising that trophy.
Let's check in with NFL.com here. They have the Eagles as an A, so they kind of split us there a little higher than what we thought. As we move along to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I had a B plus, A minus there from NFL.com. Pickett at 20 was either the greatest pick in the draft or one of the worst.
I was rooting for them to take Kenny Pickett. I was so happy when they did. The number of mad Steelers fans that were there was high. I love this pick as a Browns fan. I think Kenny Pickett sucks. I do. I think Kenny Pickett has tiny hands. He had turnover problems at Pittsburgh, and that's in the ACC where you're playing some bad competition most of the year until you play Clemson.
Yep.
This is it's okay. Cool. Tell me right now what Kenny Pickett does better than Mitch Trubisky. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about this
I
draft,
thought he was Mitch Trubisky, right?
he
So I
is.
saw Mitch play at UNC. High completion percentage kind of guy, knows I will say this, tremendous decision making, right? He has a quarterback mind, and I think that's the thing that overcomes the intangibles he doesn't have.
He is a great fake slider. Yeah, he is really good at that illegal play.
He is a top 10 of all time.
I'll say this.
slider.
I'll give the Steelers a C for this draft. I know a lot of people are higher on him. I think the George Pickens pick in round 2 is a really nice pick. It's somebody who I wanted the Browns to take.
It's a flyer at 52, but you never think, we could look back and be like, wow, he's the best wide receiver in the draft. That could happen.
But I just sit there and I look at the rest of their picks. Calvin Austin out of Memphis. He's all right. I don't think he's going to make any noise. Connor Hayward at Michigan State went 3 rounds too early, and he went in the 6th round. So that pretty much
took
tells you
another
what
quarterback,
I think.
by the way,
Yeah.
at the end.
And then they took Chris Oladokun out of South Dakota State, a quarterback in the 7th round. Weird draft to me. I think it's going to I mean, again, we're judging it right now. If Kenny Pickett does anything, awesome. If the Pittsburgh Steelers are in last place in the division, like I think they will be.
I will say this. Pickens, an immature head case. Tomlin did coach Antonio Brown for 9 years.
That is true. If there's one coach that can handle that, it's the man with the best trip in football. It's Mike Tomlin.
Let's put that out there. San Francisco 49ers. As we are moving along here, going alphabetical order, giving out our grades. This was a B minus for me. Looking at some of the picks, nothing really kind of jumped out at me. I like the pick of Danny Gray. I saw him play a bit here in Dallas at SMU. The guy is as fast as lightning.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a Deebo Samuel, he's not as athletic as Deebo as far as lateral quickness goes, But if you're looking for some people to stretch the field, if you want to continue to run a vertical style offense there in San Francisco, you got your guy.
Scott, what city is SMU in?
Dallas.
Dallas to the big D. That's what I'm giving them in this grade. I think this is a D draft. I don't love this draft. Drake Jackson, I think, is a nice piece out of USC. I'm not really sure how well he fits in a place where they have a lot of defensive linemen already. I agree. I think Danny Gray, he's a raw, quick talent, especially if they get rid of Debo. But we have to judge it based on why they're. Well, I'm judging this based on why their draft is the way it is, and the reason why this draft is the way it is because they traded away their first round pick for Trey Lance, and I think Trey Lance stinks. So, D.
Hey, it comes back to bite you a year later. We'll let you have it. Castro Fields, by the way, nice little pick down there in the 6th round. We'll see what he does. I think he could be a nice corner in the league. Maybe not for the 49ers, but maybe somewhere. So let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks, the no more fighting Russell Wilson Seattle team. They had the number 9 pick. Great pick with Cross. It's not sexy. It's not going to sell any more season tickets. From a GM football IQ standpoint, great pick at number 9. But they did not make a huge splash in this draft.
Scott, this is a weird draft for me. I like some of these picks. I really do. But this is, I think, the first draft that they're going to get knocked down to a C to C- because of what they didn't do. Drew Lock cannot be the answer. And let's be clear, you and I have been very critical of the quarterbacks in this draft. And I still think the majority of them are better than Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock is really bad. And listen, Charles Cross, it was a need for this team. I mean, let's be clear, that offensive line is the whole reason why Russell Wilson isn't there anymore.
We did talk about on our mock draft that the offensive linemen get much more of a flyer, much worse as you move down the board. And I think that's why they took him in the top 10.
Yeah, I like Charles Cross a lot. I think that was a great pick. And obviously, this could change. Everything that has been said is that the Seahawks are not moving for Baker Mayfield. They don't want him. They want Drew Lock. Boye Mafe in the 2nd round. I had Boye Mafe in the 1st round. I think he's a really nice edge rush passer. This is a team that badly needed a pass rush. But where I get confused is they go and take Kenneth Walker at pick 41, round 2. Listen, I have watched a lot of Kenneth Walker play. I think he's a great player. Started off at Wake Forest, transferred to Michigan State, play senior year. But this is a team, you're really telling me that at round 2, pick 9, instead of taking a Malik Willis or instead of taking a Desmond Ritter, you take what will be your 3rd running back. You still have Chris Carson, and you still have Rashard Penny, who went out and ran for 400 yards in the last 3 games of the season. I don't know what the move is. I think Abraham Lucas in the 3rd round is a really nice pick. Again, a team that needed offensive line, but this was very confusing. Also, they picked an Ohio State player, so I changed my mind. They're an A+. Also, by the way, you want to take another wide receiver, raw but good, Bo Melton in the 7th round.
Bo Melton at 229, man. I'm telling you.
Dude's got wheels. Dude's got wheels.
Be careful. But you got Drew Lock still throwing the football. So
shout out to Donnie Moore.
4.3440. You know why we're streaming on Facebook?
Because of Donnie Moore. That's why. That's all.
Whole reason. We wouldn't catch him otherwise. No way we'd find Donnie Moore unless we were on Facebook. So
no
good to see him. Let's move along to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And hey, Donnie Moore joins us right at the right time. Alphabetical order. Big Bucks
shockingly,
fan.
Donnie Moore comes in end of the show. Like, what are we talking about, the Bucks right now?
Let's see what NFL.com had to say. They had him as an A. By the way, the Seahawks at a C+.
Which in NFL terms is like a F-.
Yeah. That's like we done the decoding here. An A is a B and a C+ is an F-. So somewhere in there. But they like the Buccaneers draft. Logan Hall at 33, I thought was okay. Interesting to see them take a tight end, right? Does that kind of, they know is Gronk done, or is he coming back, or is he learning underdraft? And by the way, not one tight end, 2 tight ends in the draft. They came back a little bit later and took Ko Kief from Minnesota, another Big Ten guy. It'll be interesting to see Donnie Moore check in the chat, seeing what he thought about that. By the way, this is the best pun of the day. Seahawks, C+.
Hey. Ayo. This draft to me is a B. I think they got some nice pieces. I think the guard out of Central Michigan, Luke Gedeke, is a nice piece for them.
Great pick.
Somebody to fill the now lost role from Ali Marpet retiring.
Yep.
Again, 4th round punter. I always question when you're taking a 4th round punter.
How many kickers did we have go 3rd and 4th round?
3
It was crazy.
punters and 2 kickers went in the 4th round. I don't know what's going on there. The tight ends, obviously they lose OJ Howard in the offseason and Rob Gronkowski, big question mark there. Still have Cameron Brate.
OJ Howard was a bigger loss than people will be willing 100%. To admit.
But I think Cade Otton was a nice player at Washington. The one I questioned, Rashad White out of Arizona State, taking a halfback there. I think they had bigger needs. I don't know why you're taking a halfback when I think halfback in general has been something that you've had a lot of depth at. But this is a B. This is a fine draft for a team that really, let's be honest, Scott, we can talk all we want. The only thing that matters is that Tom Brady's back.
Donnie Moore's chiming in that he's like, McCollum probably will not be good on the field, but hey, it'd be great.
There's only one team that's getting played with next year in Regs, Donnie, and it's the Arizona Cardinals, okay? That team is broken now, okay? You've got Kyler, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, and now you've got Hollywood
the first 6
Brown.
games, by the way.
Yeah, goodbye. Hey, guess what? Suspensions don't carry over in Madden, so we're good in
They
Regs.
don't. Let it fly. Let it fly.
2 more teams. We got only 2 left.
We're getting there. We're 15 minutes over schedule. It's just because we've had a good time talking with everyone in the chat. Tennessee Titans at here comes Ohio State. So I'll start first. I didn't love it. The picks that I did like, I like Burks. I thought that was fine at number 18. You needed to make a play, right? You lost some guys. Trey Burks is a nice fill in there. I think Malik Willis is not going to be as a flyer as people thought. I'm surprised he lasted to 86, to be honest. They're in the 3rd round. I think in the back of my mind, they've had a great offseason. Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at now. All right. I'll give way to the Nick Mizesko show here.
Sorry, Scott. I'm sorry. Were you talking about that?
By the way, a little fun fact about a former Clemson punter: $2.9 million. So they'll probably make a move. Maybe that's worth the 4th rounder. But okay, there's an Ohio State guy which I know bumps you up. By the way, I'm giving them a C. C draft.
I'll give him a B minus. I think this draft was interesting. The Treylon Burks move confuses me. They trade away AJ Brown to use draft capital on a guy to replace AJ Brown. That to me is a weird parallel move. I don't really know what the big benefit of that was. Roger McCreary, I'm one of the corners I'm not a huge fan of out of Auburn. Nick Petit-Frere goes in the 3rd round. This is a guy who is definitely much more fitted to play right tackle than left tackle. That's why he fell down some boards. He got exposed at left tackle at Ohio State, but when they shifted him over to the right side, moved Thayer Munford left, it was a better fit. So I think Petit-Frere will be nice on the right side of that line. This is going to be all judged on Malik Willis. I love the pick. I think Malik Willis will be a good quarterback. I think, especially as Ryan Tannehill's going to be coming up and looking for some money. And listen, you don't need to be that great of a quarterback to turn around and hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. So congratulations, Malik. And by the way, am I the only one looking forward to, can we get some read option pistol offense with Derrick Henry and Malik Willis? The only move I didn't love in this entire thing, by the way, Okonkwo, the tight end out of Maryland, really nice piece, big physical tight end.
He is a beast.
Dude's a big dude. I'm trying to, what was his measurables at the combine? Came in at 6'2", 2.5. 6'2.5", 238, 9 3/4 hands. This dude was a
he can block and catch. So.
Yeah, he's a great player. The
funny thing is, like, this is a team that was pretty good last year. I think they've gotten worse.
Yeah, I mean the AJ Brown thing I think was a big loss for them. The one I don't love, again, the Hassan Haskins move. Listen, I liked Haskins at Michigan. This was a guy that was a downhill runner. Just didn't seem like a need for me. I felt like they can have anybody behind Derrick Henry at this point to spell him. They didn't need to spend draft capital on it. B minus.
I think this will be a fun team. We're going to start, just so everybody's watching, we're going to start breaking down each of these teams.
Yeah.
And their upcoming season, what they've done in the offseason, what they've done in the draft, kind of a whole show, like an hour long and like a
lot
team.
Of fun.
So
yeah.
This one will be interesting because they made a lot of moves. Bud Dupree, Robert Woods, who didn't play last year. They're going to need those kind of players to really step up if they're going to make their way back to the playoffs. I don't think they do it. I don't think they make it back. Are we at the bottom here?
Yeah,
and I mean that literally.
Last but not least, the Fighting Dan Snyders.
The Washington Commanders, who I will agree, it's a C plus, B minus. NFL.com had them at a B. I thought it was great moving back because at 11 they had no answer anyway. They're like, yeah, we might as well just move back here. And I thought Dotson was a really good pick. I thought he could have been a much higher wide receiver pick. I think he kind of fits their team as long as they can find somebody to give him the rock.
Yeah, I actually have them a little higher. I think this is a B plus draft for the Commanders, able to trade back, pick up some draft capital.
And no Ohio State players. I'm looking at the
No
list
Ohio,
over here.
there were none. Although they do call Tulsa the Ohio State of Oklahoma. So in honor of that, we'll just you know.
No. All right.
Anyways, they
been
did
striked from YouTube and now Twitch. Nice.
Yep. See ya. The one thing I like, Jahan Dotson again, I think is a nice piece. It will be interesting watching Dotson and Terry McLaurin out there on offense. They're two very similar wide receivers, just absolute burners. The big one for them, Sam Howell in the 5th round. Listen, I wasn't big on this entire class. I think that's undervalued for Sam Howell.
Big flyer. I love it.
I think Howell could have been going 2nd, 3rd round. They get him in the 5th. I think Howell was a better prospect than Corral, who went ahead of him.
If he would have went, some of these quarterbacks really, I know last year's class was juiced.
Yeah,
they would have been better off going last year.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, this is Howell was a projected top 20 pick last year. Stayed at North Carolina for an extra year. I think this is a
drops to the 5th round.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing happened. I don't know if you remember the name Taj Boyd out of Clemson.
Yeah, out of Clemson, yeah.
At a like, oh my God, like, you know, they thought he was going to be amazing. Came back. Who's the guy? Oh, Jadeveon Clowney. Basically ruined this guy in college. So and then my guy Taj Boyd just was never the same.
Yeah, who else? Jadeveon Clowney ruined? Vincent Smith, halfback out of Michigan. Remember? Remember that?
I do remember that. I do agree with this comment as well coming in from some bumps. Or Howell's better than Trubisky, no doubt.
The one thing I feel, I think, you know, from a draft grade, I put him at a B plus. I feel bad for Sam Howell because he has to go to Dan Snyder's team, and they are not good at drafting and developing quarterbacks. It's a poor atmosphere. He's the biggest poison in the NFL and kind of needs to be kicked out. But if they can somehow do that, I think Sam Howell's in a great spot because, you know, you got a solid offensive line and you got a good running back in Antonio Gibson. You got a good wide receiving core. And I just don't think Carson Wentz is the answer. So this is a good draft for him.
To close it out here, I'm going to ask the chat as well as we discuss this and close out this draft. Biggest steal in the 1st round. Biggest steal.
It's to me. I think there are 2. I'll give you 2 steals. I think George Karlaftis at 30 for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's somebody who I thought was a top 20 pick.
Love it.
And this one, obviously he was always projected to be in the top picks. I think getting Kayvon Thibodeau at 5 was an absolute steal. I think Thibodeau should have been 1 or 2. To get him at 5 for the New York Giants, they had to be licking their chops with 2 first-round picks, not having to move at all to get him and get their offensive lineman of the future. I think that was an absolute steal.
I'll give you 2. Tyler Lindenbaum. I know that's not sexy. I loved him at 25. Devin Lloyd at 27. Something the Jaguars actually did right. I think Devin Lloyd will be a better player.
The first linebacker they
Walker.
took, right? Devin Lloyd, that was not the second one that they took.
Yeah.
After the one that they signed,
I think he'll be a better player than Trayvon Walker.
Okay, I do too.
What about the biggest reach in the 1st round? I think this is so obvious. It's like Sunday school answer.
Should we not say Trayvon Walker at the same time? Or like, should we, do you want to do like a song and dance? Like, it's Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker to me is a mid-20s pick. He's not a number 1 overall. I think it was a bad pick. If there was somebody else that I would put on the reach, I would put Kenny Pickett at 20. I think there were 3 quarterbacks better than Kenny Pickett. I really do. I know that everybody talks about Kenny Pickett's NFL readiness. I think Malik Willis had a higher ceiling. I think Desmond Ritter was a better quarterback, and I think Sam Howell had a higher upside. I think Pickett at 20 was a reach. But obviously, if we're going to talk about reaches, it's Trayvon Walker. Good shout. Also, shout out to Cole Strange. Shout out to Cole Strange.
That's
Big
what
shout
I'm
out.
going with. That's what I'm going with. Number 29 for the Patriots, Cole Strange. That pick alone was strange. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Strange.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to go with other steals,
where he was in the big board to where he got picked at 29. I also don't like Quay Walker. Also don't like Tyler Smith. the Cowboys. I thought those were the three that kind of jumped out at me. Walker, I mean, I'm not even going to start with the number one pick. I mean, whatever, because the guy could be a Hall of Famer. He could be the next Lawrence Taylor, and we all act like idiots. But Quay Walker, Tyler Smith, Cole Strange. We'll start with Cole Strange first. Biggest reach of the first round, like no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at value beyond the first rounds, if you want to look at some of my favorite ones, Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive lineman at Ohio State. Thayer Mumford, offensive lineman of Ohio State. Really nice player there. I like Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. Really like Chris Olave out of Ohio State. I think those are all great pieces. Jeremy Ruckert, tight end out of Ohio State. I think those are all great picks for all those teams. Did I do this right, Scott? Am I
Yeah, you're right on. You're right on. We'll be back next week with Buckeyes talk right here. No.
Buck Talks.
It was a fun draft. It wasn't a sexy draft.
It was fun.
Yeah. A lot of wait and sees. I think that's the only way to put it. We will be back next week. We'll have to figure out when we start our 32 teams. I think we'll go by division, going through the 32 teams in the league, what they did in the offseason, what they did in the draft, what we predict for them. We'll play the win-loss game because we have the schedules coming out. So I think that'll be fun. We'll jump into it soon. If there's anything you guys ever want to talk about, hit us up on Twitter. And we got some sponsors coming on soon. So you might see, our program kind of growing. Big day for us. Hope it was a big day for you. We're here every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We talk everything, but we got a pretty major focus on American football. So NFL, college, we cannot wait, and we'll spend the whole off season. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. I had a crazy week, man. I saw the Mavericks win. I saw Stars win, and I saw the Rangers win twice, even though I was kind of out there rooting for the Braves. Fun sports weekend, fun sports time. You got NHL, so much amazing stuff going on. Everybody enjoy your week. Final thoughts from you, Nick.
Suns in 5.
Jeez.
Go Bucks.
Let's see. Let me put in my Google Maps. How long does it take me to drive out to Arizona where you are? Maybe we can get a stream. I'm turning up our music. I'm not having it. We're drowning Nick out. We're out of here. We will see you guys next week on the show.